Hello YouTube and welcome to Legends Gaming. Today we're going to be talking about the Aboon Commander pre-constructed deck, the Landsrath deck. Today we'll be talking about your financial gain of the deck. Will this pre-constructed $20 deck be the value if you resold all the cards? We'll also be talking about how it's going to be played. And at the end of the video, we'll talk about some budget upgrades you can do to this deck. And if you like what we do here, and if you want to support, please like, subscribe, and comment on all our videos. We are be doing more Dragon Ball Super, more Commander, more Magic, more Weiss Wars, and we're going to do a lot more deck battle videos. So if you don't mind, go ahead and hit that like, hit that subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more. So let's go ahead and roll the intro and get into it. Okay, so let's talk about what actually comes in this Commander deck box. So in this box, I was told you get a deck box, a life counter, and your deck. Let's go ahead and crack it up. All right, inside here you get your Commander, which is a foil. And then you get your 100 card deck. And then inside the back side, you actually get a deck box, Landsrath written on the front, what looks to be a rule book on how Commander is actually played compared to your standard. And then you get this life wheel. And this is actually pretty cool. It has 20 on one side you can use for your standard games, and then you pop it over to the other side and you have your other 20 all the way up to 40 life. That's actually pretty nifty. And then let's get into the financial gain of the deck. We will do that when we sleeve this in the nice emerald, or the green matte Dragon Shields. If you were to purchase this deck, the buy price is $20, and according to MTG Goldfish, the resale price is $36.40. Your cards of value is going to be Multani. He is valued at $1.53. Then you have Omnath Locust of Rage, which is valued at $2.44. And then you have Sol Ring valued at $2.44. And then last but not least, you have the Arcane Signet valued at $2.35. Not bad. It is worth the buy. This deck hasn't been played yet by us, but we will get to the point where we play the deck. So let's go on, let's sleeve these cards up. Okay, so let's talk about some of the key cards in this deck and how it's played. So our commander reads, at the beginning of the combat on your turn, up to one target land becomes an XX elemental creature with trample and haste until the end of the turn, where X is Aboon's power and is still a land. This is a key feature to this whole deck, is the landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield you control, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. You will want to most likely target Aboon, and then a land becomes his power. Alright, so let's talk about some other key cards and how they help the deck. Beanstalk Giant. Beanjock's stats, power, and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. You are going to be ramping, so this card is going to be great for this deck. Evolution Sage, whenever a land enters the battlefield, you proliferate. So everything that has a 1/1 counter from a boon's effect, you will get additional counters onto those creatures. Omnath Locus of Rage, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, create a 5/5 red-green elemental creature token. This is going to be a strong card and need to be dealt with ASAP, providing the fact you are playing multiple lands per turn. Whenever Omnath Locus of Rage or another elemental creature dies, it deals 3 damage to any target. So they're going to be really careful not to board wipe you because you can kill them on a board wipe. Rampaging Balmoths, or Baloths, sorry. Trample, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may create a 4/4 green beast creature token. He is also a 6/6, so this is also better for the deck of you going wide and overwhelming your opponents. Sun Titan, Vigilance, whenever Sun Titan enters the battlefield or attacks, you may return target permanent card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to your battlefield. If you do get board wiped, Sun Titan can return a couple of your cards back from your graveyard and you can start the process all over again. And then finally, last but not least, we have Multani, which has Reach and Trample. Multani gets +1/+1 for each land you control and each land card in your graveyard. Pay 1 in green, return 2 lands you control from their owner, or lands you control to their owner's hands. This will also trigger your landfall because you can pay 2, return a land, replay land, and spark off all your landfall triggers. Now let's talk about the upgrades that you can do to this deck and make it run more efficiently. So the first up, we're gonna have the Dragon Master Outcast. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 6 or more lands, create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. This is gonna stop the aerial attacks that you're going to get playing this deck, and it's also gonna let you go wide and pump out more creatures. Next, we have Champion Lambholt. Creatures with power less than Champion Lambholt's power can't block creatures you control. This is great for pumping her up with your +1/+1 counters. Also, whenever another creature enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on Champion Lambholt. So the more counters she has, the less your opponent's going to have a chance to actually swing in, allowing her to make your creatures unblockable by all your opponents. She is a good endgame card in this sense. I don't think I need to say how good Radha, Heart of Keld is, but as long as it's your turn, Radha, Heart of Keld has first strike. You may look at the top card of your library at any time, and you may play lands from the top of your library. So if you don't have a land in hand, you can play this out. Also, in battle, for 4, a red and a green, Radha gets +X/+X until the end of the turn, where X is the number of lands you control. So you can swing in and trick your opponent, pump her up, and cause a kill, because you're going to be playing a lot of lands. You're going to have a lot of lands in this deck. Here's another great one. Shroot Swarm. Landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 green insect creature token. But you don't want that. What you do want is, if you control 6 or more lands, create a token that's a copy of Shroot Swarm instead. So what you're going to do is you're going to go super wide with all these Shroot Swarm insect tokens, which are going to create more copies and more copies based on how many you have. And the amount of lands you're going to be able to play with this deck is insane. Next up, we have Path of Discovery. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it explores. Reveal the top card of your library, put that card into your hand if it's a land. So if you're missing land turns, play a creature. If it's a land, put it in your hand, hit the field, cause more triggers. If it's not a land, then you put a 1/1 counter on the creature that entered the battlefield. This is going to be great for the amount of creatures you're actually going to be able to play with this deck. Next up, we do have Farseek. Search your library for a plains, island, swamp, or mountain card. and then put that card into play tapped, then shuffle your library. This is a very cheap ramp card, and to fix your mana, which you're going to have problems with this being a 3-color deck on its own. So you can search the land that you need to find and get it out onto the field so you can start playing your other cards and destroying your opponents. Another good one is Valakut's Exploration. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, exile the top card, and you can play that exiled card as long as it remains exiled. And also, at the beginning of your end step, if there are cards exiled with Valakut's Exploration, put them into their owner's graveyard, then Valakut Exploration deals that much damage to each opponent. This is great for if you have a bunch of cards that are exiled that you can't use at the moment. Go ahead, send them to your graveyard, and pump that damage into your opponent's face. Another nice budget entry into the mix is Felidar Retreat. Landfall: whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, choose one. Create a 2/2 white token, or put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Those creatures gain vigilance until the end of the turn. So you can swing in, still have a bunch of blockers, 1/1 counters galore all over all the creatures you own. This could be a good end game card. Another card I really wanted to put into a deck is Classification. Enchanted creature: when Classification enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature gets +20/+20. So my idea would be to target your commander, giving him 23/23 at bare minimum, not counting any additional counters. Then you create a land with haste and trample that is a 23/23 to swing in for maybe what could be a really good kill. Another goodie for the old edition is End-Raze Forerunners. Vigilance, trample, and haste. When End-Raze Forerunners enters the battlefield, other creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain vigilance and trample until the end of the turn. Craterhoof Behemoth is of course the better choice in here, but we're looking for budget options to make this deck just a slightly bit better than it was before. So End-Raze Forerunners is a must-have on an end-game kill. And finally we have Overwhelming Stampede. Until the end of your turn, creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. If you have that Classification out, all your creatures get +23/+23 at bare minimum. So this is another way to deal a lot of damage. If your opponents have if they cannot block your creatures because you have the Champion of Lampholt, then this is your game-winning kill here. So this card, very budget, will fit in the deck, and everything else will play out in your favor. Well, that is my take on the Zendikar Rising Commander pre-constructed deck. If you have any ideas or any thoughts, leave a comment down below. And don't forget to always like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more content like this. As always, legends are made, not born. Thank you for watching.